So a load of people have asked how I ended up making an audiobook in the first place, and the answer behind that is basically down to one guy. I was at World Fantasy Con last year down in Brighton, and whilst I was there, someone came up to my table and asked me, hey, have you considered making your book into an audiobook? And I answered pretty quickly, because it had been a consideration. I've always dreamed of having an audiobook of Call of the Blackwing, and it's just too expensive. Like, for an indie creator, not sure whether I'll ever make the money back. Thinking of starting a family at the time, I just didn't have the finances to justify that kind of risk. And he asked me what I thought the budget was, and I gave him my answer, and he gasped and said, yeah, I could do that for a lot cheaper, that we could definitely get that done. And the cost he gave, being entirely transparent, was reckoned you could get it done for £2,000. And that is suddenly the kind of budget that makes the risk worth it. Because that's the kind of budget I'd put into Call of the Blackwing in the first place. Like, getting it published was, as a book in the first place, about £3,000. And I've made that money back. And I'm not saying that to boast. I'm saying that because I think it's worthwhile being transparent about the finances of self-publishing so that other self-published authors going into the industry know what they're getting into and know what the possibilities are. Of that £3,000, most of the cost was editing, with a fair chunk of money on the cover, and the rest of it is in buying the book's distribution, just to get it out the door. But yeah, the bulk of the cost is editing, and that is a really worthwhile investment. Too many self-published authors, and I'd say it's still a minority, but it's still too many, think editing and professional editing is optional, and it just isn't. But anyway, £2,000 to get an audiobook out, suddenly that's worthwhile, and also I reckoned I could cover at least some of the cost with crowdfunding, because I'd already had readers ask me whether or not an audiobook was on the table. If I can tell them it's on the table, maybe they'd put some funding behind getting it done in exchange for knowing they'll get an audiobook at the end. Fortunately, earlier in that same year, a new voice actress had come to me and asked whether or not I'd be okay with her recording part of one of the stories from Call of the Blackwing for her reel as she looks to start expanding her career. And I was delighted, but I asked if she could send me the reel afterwards, just so I could hear my words put to life myself. And when she sent it through, I was so happy with it. I asked if I could buy it off her to use as marketing while she could still use it as a reel. So that was a real win-win situation for us. And that combination of having a director who reckoned he could get it done and a voice actress I knew could nail the part made the entire thing possible. And it was made even more possible when the Kickstarter did even better than we expected and made enough money back that we could switch from an in-house home setup for production to using an actual audio production studio and their expertise. I've raved about Valerie Bryce plenty, the audiobook narrator, and I'm really excited for more people to be hearing her voice with the audiobook, and I think she's got great things ahead for her. But her name is now on the audiobook whenever it's seen because she's the narrator. The person who's not going to be seen as much is the director who basically kickstarted all of this. And that's this guy, Michael Ireland, who I cannot thank enough for getting this entire journey started last year. Without his nous around getting stuff crowdfunded, around cheaper ways of getting an audiobook done, an audiobook would just not have happened. And if you want to get a sense of his expertise, you can grab hold of The Secret of St. Kilda, which is the audio production that he was working on before he came to me with Call of the Blackwing. And this is what I mean about the importance of community in writing, and especially in self-publishing, in that none of this could have happened if it wasn't for meeting people, chatting to them, getting to know each other, respecting each other's expertise. None of it would have happened if I hadn't gone to writing conventions, writers' conventions, gone to know the people there, been able to learn from them and pay them for good work. The Call of the Blackwing cover, the artist is someone I found on ArtStation, but the cover designer is an author I knew from my writers' community in Edinburgh. All those little connections matter, and if you're going to self-publishing, you need to make them. Best of luck out there.